Okay guys, we're going to be changing out a speedometer cluster on a 2003 Ford F250, F350. This plastic piece is going to be extremely fragile. So if you notice right here, I had to take this off a while back. It did crack. So be careful. Best way for you to do this will be to grab on the one side here, and then this will just pop straight out. And then if you just kind of pull a little bit, it will pop out. Now, sometimes you may need to take off this steering wheel cover here, but I'm going to do it without taking it off. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the touchscreen off, and it's pretty quick and simple. This is an aftermarket touchscreen that I put in, so this isn't going to apply to you. If you have a stock radio, I do have the video for that, how to pull that out. There's a special tool that you used. All right, so now that the stereo is out, we disconnected that, we can go ahead and just keep working. And this actually is popping off pretty darn easy. So go ahead and just keep on pulling this until it completely pops off. All right, so the next thing that you're gonna do is just get behind here and push straight forward, and you'll just pop the, this is for your lights and then your dimmer switch. And then you just go ahead and just disconnect these wires back here. So take these electrical connectors off. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and set the emergency brake, and then what I'm gonna do is put the key in. I'm gonna take your gear selector, and we're just gonna pull it all the way down to 1. That way it gets the actual selector out of the way so you can pull your dash up. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to use the tilt column to drop the your tilt steering down, and then we can just grab a hold of this. Now, don't forget, like mine's 4-wheel drive, so that's a connection point right there. And then you also have your lighter, cigarette lighter that is plugged in on the back, so be careful of those wires. All right, so I went ahead and disconnect the 4-wheel drive electrical connection point, and then also we were going to go ahead and take off the your cigarette lighter electrical connector. And this one here is just sitting in this little channel right there. If it is hooked up, then go ahead and disconnect that also. Now, what I was talking to you about when you're pulling these out, this tab here was broken already, and so these do snap pretty easy, you know, and like this. So they should have like these little metal tabs here that pop in, and then they lock into this channel here. You have 4 bolts to take off your speedometer cluster. There's one there, there's one right there, there's one right down here, and one on this side here, right down there. So we can go ahead and take those out at this time. All right, so you're gonna be using a 9/32 on these 4 screws. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and pull it out. All right, so now what you're gonna do is, after you disconnected your electrical connectors, there should be 3 of them on the back. Well, at least this one is a diesel, so there's 3 on here. Now what you're gonna do is you have to disconnect your parking indicator, and what you're gonna do is there's like little tabs. Well, how about that? Never had that happen. So anyways, and actually they stayed intact. Interesting. So these little tabs right here are what you're going to be slightly applying a little bit of pressure to, and then it just pops right out. And then you got to do the other side also. So these 2 here. All right, so if you're not ready to put your speedometer right back in, what you need to do is put it back in park, turn your ignition off. All right, so let's go ahead and move the gear shift lever down, and we're gonna go ahead and reinstall. All right, so the first thing that I would do is I would hook up your electrical connections. So go ahead and get those hooked up before you hook this up. All right, and to get this in, you just push it up until it locks into place. Very simple, very easy. You'll hear it kind of click, and just make sure it makes a positive connection. All right, so if you swapped the gauge cluster for another one, here's what I would do next is I would take and put it in park. Let's go ahead and start this up. And then see that all your gauges are working and everything should be working the way they should. All right, so everything looks and is properly working, so we can go ahead and finish up by go ahead and shut your vehicle off. Let's put in the 4 bolts going around. All right, once you install the screws, you want to make sure that this little tab right here is sticking through this hole. You'll have 2 of them. You've got one on this side, and then you also have one on this side. So if your gear shift indicator is halfway between park and reverse, let me show you how to fix that. It's a super easy and quick fix. This knee bolster off right here, so go ahead and you put a screwdriver. You can use your keys. It's pretty easy to do. It just pops right straight out, just like that. And then you got your 2 down on the bottom here. There's one here and one over here. All right, so then what you're gonna do is there's a wheel right here, and what you're gonna do is just start spinning this right here. And so you're gonna start going one direction, and if that's not working, then it goes the opposite direction. So it's pretty easy to do. It's just right here, located right up underneath that kick panel. And let me show you here when you start adjusting it. Yeah, let's get down here like this. When you start adjusting it, it will, give me a minute here. Okay, there we go, I'm spinning it. Okay. See, and then it starts to move over. And let's see. Now I'm going the wrong way. So then, if you start to, there it goes. Okay. So it's pretty good. A lot of times you can't get it exactly perfect. You just got to kind of get it in the ballpark, and then it's good enough. So there we go. And that is pretty close. I think it's pretty much at the end of what I can do. But saying that, that's not bad at all. So we'll go ahead and keep it at that. It's way better than having it halfway in between park and reverse. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna install your dash panel. And what I did to make it a little bit easier, I actually took out the 4-wheel drive selector switch. Let me show you what that looks like. So I went ahead and took that out. If you do have that, it's easier just to pop it out and then make the electrical connection later. So you just push these in and then pop it straight out. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hook up this one electrical connector, and that's to your cigarette lighter right there before you install it. All right, so what you're doing is you're just gently pushing in on this. Go ahead and pull your wires through. There's your 4-wheel drive, and then also this is hooked up now. So let's go ahead and just pop it in place, and you're just gonna push it gently. Don't push with force because you can break it, but just make sure that everything is seated, and then you're good. So just run around a couple times and then just make sure that everything is proper. Now, if you notice here too, on this side, it started to crack right there. And this one over here actually did break. It snapped completely off right there. So I had to use a 2-part epoxy, which works really good. You just put it on there, let it set up overnight, and it is as strong as the plastic itself. All right, so what we're gonna do is go ahead and hook this up, and you should hear a click when you put both of these in on each one. And then once you're locked in place, just go ahead and pop this back in, Okay, there we go, and there. All right, so then if you have your four-wheel drive, go ahead and install that, hook your electrical connector up, and just pop it back in place. Just like that. All right, so there your dash is back in. The last thing that you need to do is install your radio. There's all sorts of different kind of radios. I always put in an aftermarket. Usually that's the first thing I do when I get you know, a truck or an older car. But anyways, there you go. I do a ton of videos on the F350s and the 250s. So take a look at those. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.